Welcome to Ask the Expert in a Crisis, where we ask industry leaders about their unique perspective on how to navigate the most difficult challenges faced by the broader real estate and financial services ecosystem during the current global health crisis. Also giving you a chance to ask the expert some of the most pressing questions on your mind. My name is Max Simkoff. I'm the CEO of States Title, and today I'm excited to welcome Compass's San Francisco founding partner, Monica Pauli, and residential real estate sales leader, Kate Tomassi, to talk about the topic, how to drive real estate transactions in today's market. Particularly interesting topic, given the unique set of challenges that are needing to be navigated in California and the Bay Area and also across the country to help get real estate deals done. Just by way of quick background, Monica, who I've known now for quite some time, is one of the top producing agents in the United States. She did over $150 million in sales just in the San Francisco Bay Area last year. I can personally attest that she is highly sought after by clients and greatly respected by her fellow agent community. Kate was named Rookie of the Year by her brokerage in her first year in the business. And she has also, over her first 5 years, closed over $100 million in transactions. So really just a powerhouse team here, and super excited to have them. Welcome, Monica and Kate. Thank you for making the time for this today.
Thank you.
I wanted to just start by actually, as a really interesting aside here, Monica, you and I met, this is back in 2000, I guess it was 2010 or 2011. And you know, our experience when you helped me find my first home, that was in fact the experience that led me to start the company, States Title, when I went through the closing process and saw that, you know, there was clearly an opportunity to make closing more efficient and use technology. That really, I mean, you could say that, you know, you helped inspire the start of the business. And certainly since, you know, you and Kate have helped a lot of home buyers, home sellers, first-time home buyers in figuring out the process and, you know, easing some of the different pains across the process and now at Compass. So I'd like to start there because you're at Compass. They brand themselves as the technology brokerage. And certainly in the current time we're in, technology is playing more and more of an important role in helping get deals done. So I'd love to maybe start by hearing about some of the technology that you both have seen that has helped find and help customers close during the crazy time that we're in. So maybe we would start there. Just like I'm interested in hearing about, you know, Compass more broadly and then some of the technology that you both are using to help you navigate the challenging times that we're in.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you, Max. One of the reasons we started Compass 4 years ago in 2016 was their technology platform. So when we left our brokerages, I left Coldwell Banker being there 16 years, and there were 15 of us that started Compass in 2016. We knew what Robert Refkin's plan was, but we had no idea it was going to be this. And I will say, and Kate can also add, that during this pandemic, if we were not with Compass, I just don't know what we would have done, because everything Compass has built for us, for all of the agents and the staff, every worker at Compass, we can use from our laptop anywhere in the world. That is producing a comparative market analysis live for our client, doing live video tours with our client in the property. The tools that Compass has been able to provide us during these last 6 months has just been so beneficial for us as agents. We have actually made more money during this pandemic. We are working smarter. We are not wasting the time that we used to waste. And now all of our staff, employees, our team members, we're able to do this, which we never knew of Zoom. You know, all these the new world is now, I think, going to be moving us to the future on how we're going to work better and smarter.
That's awesome. Kate, anything to add on what you've seen?
Yeah, I mean, both Monica and I have, during the pandemic, been able to get contracts done sight unseen because of the incredible virtual tours that we're using now, even at the lower price points. I didn't used to do virtual tours for properties that were, you know, low $1 million condos, but we have to have it out there now. So when we do showings, it's not open houses, it's people who really already know the properties. So it's very targeted. And so we may have fewer showings, but each showing is so much more likely to result in an offer. And so in a weird way, that's really benefited us.
Yeah, and I'm curious, have you closed on deals without people actually having seen the property in person? Like, are you seeing people tour these locations virtually and then make offers and actually close without ever having been inside of the property?
Yes.
That's just, I mean, that blows my mind. I think I was on Redfin or Zillow the other day, looking at a property, and it was I was surprised at how easily there was a piece of technology used called Matterport, and I was surprised at how easily that had been integrated into the viewing process. It was the first time I'd seen that where, and this is actually a property outside of San Francisco. It was in up in Napa. Like, I was used to a world where you would click on pictures, and now there was like a really easy thing to click on, and you got like a 3D, like you could actually walk through the entirety of the property, you know, from any vantage point. Just, you know, seeing stuff like that, it feels like that would probably be more useful and more valuable in the current time.
Now we're using Matterport for every listing, and before clients even come see the property, they view the Matterport, the virtual tour, the floor plans before we have them come see the property, if they do see it in person. And we also have every buyer is pre-approved ahead of time. So we know we're not, this is a real showing. And because of COVID and how strict everyone is, this will be the new norm.
Wow. Well, kind of in a similar vein, I know that the two of you are team members. You've worked together and closely on opportunities in the past. And, a year ago, a couple years ago, that might have meant you find ways to meet in person. You can tag team opportunities by meeting with buyers and sellers, showing homes. How have you found new ways to be successful in this remote first world now, where a lot of the things you can't do? And again, I'm interested in, what tools or strategies have you found that have helped you as a team working in an industry that has historically been so heavily based on in-person interaction?
Well, today I have 2 other Zoom calls with a seller who I've never met, who was just referred to me, with a new buyer that was just referred to me. And this has really been an amazing opportunity. I feel that buyers and sellers are completely transparent. They're telling you everything. So a lot of the times you really don't know the full truth on things, but people are really honest, and we are developing a relationship 10 times faster, and the trust and the advice and the direction that we give our clients. For example, today I'm talking with someone that's going to need Compass Concierge, the staging program, that they will need $30,000 to paint, stage, maybe do a bathroom, but we'll be able to do that all together on the conference call today. Also have my stager on the Zoom call. Then we will go to the property, see it, it's vacant. The client won't have to do anything except, trust and see what our plan is. And everything is done by video conferencing calls right now.
Wow.
And then our team will go and do the pre-sale inspections. We'll do all of that work for the client. Again, Compass has all these amazing tools, and Kate, you can also chime in on the other things that our team has been doing during this.
Yeah, I mean, I recently closed a listing where my clients were sellers who had relocated to Maryland. And we signed a listing agreement in January, pre-COVID. Had, some delays because there was a lot of work to do through the concierge program to get it fixed up, but lost the month of April. But overall, it was amazing. They couldn't get back. So they never saw the house before it sold. But I would walk them through as work was done, and they were thrilled with the results. And, I haven't seen them since last year in person, and now they're close.
Wow. And actually that is kind of a great, a great transition to another interesting theme that I'd love to hear both of your perspective on around. You mentioned this client who had moved to Maryland, and selling a home in California, and certainly that's a long distance move. I think we've clearly seen that the current market has got a lot of people questioning their home location choices, particularly in the microcosm that is San Francisco or even the Bay Area. People with kids in the city of San Francisco, clearly space is at a premium. A lot of people considering moving to the suburbs, and even this concept of escape homes, more acceptable to be working remotely. So I'm just curious, like, how have you seen this play out? Are you seeing more of this? Are there housing market trends that you think are indicative of kind of the current conditions where they're able to work more flexibly from a variety of locations, and they're starting to reassess the value of space and how they're working from home? What are some of the trends that you've all seen there?
I'm finding first-time buyers are out and about. One of my clients put in an offer. There were 28 disclosure packages out on a little house in Twin Peaks, and my client was a renter. He was paying $5,000 a month in rent. So I'm finding that myself and my team are all working with first-time buyers right now that are moving from renting to buying a little single-family house. If that's in the Sunset, the market under $2 million is very robust. Everyone wants a garden. They don't want to hear their neighbors. They want to have a flex room. They want to be by the beach. So I think people are saying, okay, I'm going to take my 20%, 25% down, and I'm going to put it in the market. I'm going to be here the next 5-10 years. And you know what? If I'm not going to work from home, if I'm not going to have to go into the office, maybe I'm going to move to Marin. Maybe I'm going to go to Stinson Beach. People are making life changes right now that they were probably deciding in the next 2 years, but now they're deciding, let's do it now, given the environment we're in.
A lot of my clients tell me, they feel that the safest place for their money right now is real estate, and they've already liquidated any stocks after the crashes in the spring. And so now the money is sitting there. And I'm also finding that first-time home buyers who had initially started thinking they would buy a condo are stretching their budget and saying, you know what, we're gonna go higher. We're gonna make this happen. We're gonna go for the single-family home.
Which is, certainly unfortunate timing for a lot of I think in this sense, probably San Francisco was akin to Manhattan in many ways, in that you saw this boom of high-rise condo construction over the last couple of years, right, to try and alleviate some of the housing challenges we had. And then all of a sudden you've got a lot of these high-rise condos coming online right at the time that people, that's likely the less attractive option for them given the current market. So I guess I'm curious, have you seen that too? Like when you think about the difference between even the types of condos that are for sale in San Francisco, have you found that, living right downtown in a high-rise building has become, meaningfully less attractive than, being, at least having a little bit of space to spread out and not feeling like you're kind of trapped in a building with an elevator?
Right now, those sellers, the owners that are downtown, they are going to have to wait it out until they decide to sell. Right now, the prices are way low. significantly low. We're seeing less than like maybe 2015.
Wow.
Just wait for 2 years. It's going to bounce back. It'll probably be 18 months to 2 years, but nobody wants to be in a high rise right now. The listings that I'm selling, those buyers are coming from downtown, the big buildings with the doorman. They're moving to single family homes. The families that are in a nice condo in Pacific Heights, they're moving to single family. I just think the condo market owners should just hold if they can. But, it's definitely cyclical. We saw this in 2008. And it's just, San Francisco will bounce back, and it's going to come back very strong. We'll have a lot of new buyers, and, it's a waiting game right now.
I'm curious, and just maybe one or two more questions before I open it up for live Q&A. And just as a reminder, if you have questions for Monica or Kate, you can put those into the Q&A box down below. I've already seen one or two come across that I'll select from in just a minute. I want to shift a little bit now towards, you've both talked about the parts of the technology landscape and the process landscape that have somewhat amazingly gotten more efficient in the current environment. I want to talk a little bit about, some of the quirks that remain. And the first one that's particular to the market that the Bay Area is in, which clearly is more of a high net worth market. I'm sure earlier, Monica, I think you said, hey, the market for properties under $2 million is, remained competitive. And I think for people who are on this webinar who hear something like that, who don't live in the Bay Area, some folks may just about fall out of their chair, when they hear that that's the threshold for a competitive market. It helps to remind folks that, the price per square foot in San Francisco and in the Bay Area is in many cases like 4 or 5 times what it is in the rest of the country. So, finding a single family home for less than $1.5 million, for example, is very, very difficult to do in the city of San Francisco. And clearly, they become more affordable as you get out into some of the suburban areas. But given that this is, more of a high net worth market, I'm curious, what have you seen in the current environment be some of the remaining challenges associated with selling to and for these folks? And given that a lot of our audience here is focused on the mortgage process, and particularly interested in what qualities you're looking for in lenders that your clients are working with. What have you seen be some of the challenges there, and what does that mean in terms of how you guide your clients in working with particular kinds of lenders to help them get through this process easily?
Well, I can say I'm closing something tomorrow, and yesterday we were scrambling because my client, the seller, all cash, doesn't have a loan, and he has to get a notary to come to his home in Orinda to sign. And all the notaries are booked. And this is a man that is just extremely successful, owns properties all over the United States. And he's like, why can't I just do this online? Why do I have to sign my closing papers? And I was like, that's a really great question. And we were very frustrated. And so I think the lending part has been great with all the lenders. Everyone works really hard together, very transparent. Really love the lenders we all work with. But the bottom line is the biggest negative to our whole transaction is the most important piece of closing and getting the document signed. We cannot do that online. And that is, having to have a notary person come to your home during COVID, just in general. I don't want somebody in my house, and either does my client. So they're outside, on the picnic bench, if they're mass signing. But I don't understand why we can't have in California, remote signing online. What's the deal?
Yep. I mean, actually, there's a question that came in about that I'll ask in a second. But maybe before that, Kate, anything to add on challenges that you've seen in serving this kind of unique client base, and particular feedback for lenders in the mortgage process, things that you've seen there?
Well, we're really trusting the lenders who we know and who we can kind of handpick for the right client. It depends on, different clients work better for different lenders. But the candor that we need from our lenders right now in terms of reality with underwriting delays, difficulty getting appraisers out, having drive-by appraisals in San Francisco, which was happening in the spring, very difficult for us because a lot of the houses here have unwarranted space that's actually worth quite a bit of money. But if the appraiser doesn't see it and is only seeing the outside of the house and only looking at tax records, you know, that can be very, very challenging. So, you know, understanding which company they're using for appraisal, being able to know for sure that my client's using a lender who's going to send an appraiser out who will actually get into the property. I found that's been really key.
Great. Well, so I'm going to shift now to some of the questions I've received because I want to make sure we leave a few minutes left for that. And I have, as expected, gotten a couple around this topic of remote digital closing. I actually had one of our webinar participants reminded me here. They said the state of California is working on digital notary becoming available similar to other states. And that lenders, you know, have their hands tied on this a bit. But this gets to one of the other questions that came through, which I'll just ask here, and that is that California is generally known as a progressive state and is the largest real estate market, but is literally now the only state who hasn't approved remote online notarization or even what's called remote ink signed notarization, which I believe, just as an aside, is where, you know, you have basically a Zoom session and the client still signs in person by having the promissory note and the closing documents, you know, FedEx to them, but they still don't have to do so in the presence of a notary. But the question again says that, you know, these have been approved on a temporary basis during the pandemic, and they say, and Monica, I know you touched on this a bit, but maybe both of you could touch on it a little bit more. How have you and your customers felt the impact of this? And more importantly, are your customers expecting or requesting a remote signing option? And did they do this even before the pandemic under normal circumstances?
They always like to sign remotely. They're all very busy. You know, everyone's very busy. So the fact that you have to go into the title company or they have to have, you know, a notary to sign them is a big inconvenience. I just had somebody that, again, was all cash, both sides. The house had no loan, nothing. The sellers were in New Zealand. They had to go to, this delayed our close by 10 days. This was this last month. They had to go to the consulate in New Zealand, you know, the United States consulate in New Zealand. So this, for example, this is the new norm. And I really hope that California will change this and that this becomes all automated, because it isn't easy, and it's a very important purchase. And I know that it can be regulated, and just like everything else we do, everything's going to be automated. Again, why we joined Compass? It's going to be one click. Am I going to buy a house? Sure, we're going to do everything virtually. Yes, I'm going to need a real estate agent to negotiate for me, but everything we're going to be taking everything out.
Great. Last question here before we wrap up came through. It says, are there any market trends that signal what the new normal for the real estate market may look like? And maybe if I could put my own tweak on this question, which is like, if both of you were to fast forward, let's say 12 months, hopefully 12 months from today, hopefully we could expect a vaccine, and, you know, and we have things somewhat getting back to normal in terms of not having some of the restrictions. What do you think that new normal would ideally look like? And again, I'll put another twist on the question. Are there any things that you're afraid of people going back to that will, you know, take us back into a place that's even less efficient than it has needed to be in the current environment?
Open houses. You know, I don't want 100 people through my client's home using the bathroom. And it's a waste of everybody's time. When you think of like all the handshaking and everything we were doing and just the body contact. And it was really, you look back and you go, I think we're doing this better now. We're dealing with real buyers, pre-approved, they're ready to go. The market will speak on how we list list the house, the buyer's reaction. And it's just, our business has been, if you go back to when it started with the book and, how everything was, just everything has changed. And we are the last industry to really change, to do this big change. And you look at Compass and States Title. And so I hope it's the new norm.
I do too. We were talking about, I think, at least for us, the days of A-frames are over, right? Who comes in because they saw your sign on a street corner, right? I'm really enjoying being able to focus on my profession and my clients. It's a profession, it's not somebody's Saturday afternoon entertainment. That's a waste of our time and our clients' time. And so I'd like to see that stay the new normal. I know a lot of agents are struggling with it because they pick up clients at open houses, but that's not really servicing their clients. Monica and I do most of our business off referrals. So, I'm thinking my A-frames are just going to continue to collect dust in my garage, and I'm totally fine with that.
A new normal where A-frames are collecting dust, and we have less and maybe no open houses, more qualified buyers, easier, faster transactions using more technology. Certainly sounds good to me. Certainly when it also enables more people to, become homeowners, more efficiently. So really wonderful talking with you both. Thank you so much for making time for this. I really appreciate it, and have certainly learned a lot of valuable takeaways here. And so wanted to thank you again, Kate and Monica. Always a pleasure.
Thank you, Matt.